Good morning, everyone. We want to welcome you to our webinar today. We are excited to have Amanda Agiro from Inovia Consulting. She is one of our application consultants, and Amanda will be presenting on Your Budgets Simplified with Business Central. And I know you're all eager to get started with this presentation, so before I pass it over to Amanda, I just want to let you know that we are recording this webinar as well as all of our webinars, and it will be posted to our on-demand webinar library for you to review again, or if you'd like to share it with anyone. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to type those in the questions box, and we will get them answered during our Q&A time at the end of our session. So now I'm going to pass it on over to Amanda to kick off our presentation.
Thank you, Angie. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this webinar. My name is Amanda Agiro. I'm an application consultant with Inovia. I also do development work. I've been with Inovia for just over a year. Before then, I worked with two NAV partners as a NAV consultant, and I also worked with an end user as lead ERP analyst. So today we're going to be talking about budgets in BC. Budgets are all about planning and keeping our finances in check. And in BC, budgets are very straightforward and easy to use, and they're also very efficient. So today I'll be taking us through the topics we'll be going through in budgets. So the topics we'll cover today are, as shown on the screen, we'll be creating budgets, exporting and importing budgets, copying budgets, and some other topics, and then the reports that are available in BC for budgets. So very quickly, I'll be taking us directly into BC to go through these subtopics. Okay, so first subtopic we'll be going through is creating budgets. So to create budgets in BC, we just simply use the search bar and type in budgets. So look for GL budgets, which are the general ledger budgets. And the first thing we'll see, as with any known list page in BC, is the list, the budgets that have been created. So right now we have 2019 company budget already created. So to create a new budget, we just need to click on the new icon. So we say click on new and give it a name. Say I wanted to say, okay, 2020, same things, company budget, and I say 2020. So, and then by default, the first two dimensions come up automatically. Now, these first two dimensions come from our general ledger setup. Whatever we have set up as our global dimension 1 and 2 defaults when we create new budgets. And then we have 4 other budget fields which we can populate based on our shortcut dimensions. So when we create the budget, we just click on it, or sorry, we just double click on the budget and it takes us directly to the budget card. For some reason, sorry. Just edit budget. So when we open up our budget, the first tab we see is the general tab. Now in the general tab just holds basic information as what we have already entered on the list page. Now I have my budget name. I have my show as lines. Now I can decide to say I want to show lines as my GL account or any other dimensions I want to pick up. So show as columns also. Do I want to show periods? Now when we say by default it shows periods, that's this what we see as January 2020, February, March. I can decide to choose what I would like to show. Do I want to show by my department, which is my dimensions instead, or my business units or the GL accounts directly? So most times people will choose periods because we want to see which months or weeks as whatever we choose. We want to see whatever fields we have selected here. Now view by months shows is the default, as we're seeing right now on the lines. We're seeing the budget entries by month. So we have options to say, okay, no, we want to see by week, by day, by quarter, by accounting period. It defaults to monthly because that's the most commonly used option. Now, rounding figure shows us how we want to round our budget entries. Do we want to round to the first whole number, 1,000 and so on? So that's about the general tab. So it's basically just telling us and applying filters for us to choose from. How do we want to view the entries we have populated in this sheet? Now, this is the main tab that shows us our accounts. Now, these are pulling from our general ledger accounts. So whatever accounts we have in our general ledger automatically comes into this view. Now, there's a filter down in the filters group that says, show income statement or balance sheet. The default is income statement because most times we find that people want to do budgets on the P&L accounts, expenses and all. So, but if you wanted to do otherwise, you just change it to balance sheets. So by default, it's on the income statement. So now, the date filter is saying, from a glance, what do we want to see? Which budget entries do we want to see? So right now, I'm saying I want to see from January 1st to the end of the year. If I wanted to see for 2019, I just simply would come here and change it to a filter. Also, the GL account, say for example, I wanted to only see a budget for one account. I don't want to see for every account on my income statement. I will put the filter here. For example, if I wanted to see for only job sales, I would just type in 4250 here. And then our GL account categories also. So if we use GL account categories on our chart of accounts, you also have the option to select whichever category you want here. So basically, these are the 4 other dimensions, which are shortcut dimensions I talked about. So if you want to also filter to see only budget entries for a particular dimension, you can apply it here. So basically, that's about creating budgets. You simply do new, you give it a name, and you put in your filters. So the first time you create a budget, of course, it's going to be blank because we don't have any budget figures yet. In BC, it's called budgets entries. So they're all blank for the period of January 2020 to December 2020. So we have gone through the process of creating budgets. So the next subtopic I'm going to talk about is how to import our budgets, importing and exporting our budgets. So I'll be going back again to the budget list. So we created a budget. I'm opening up my 2020 budget. Now, under the importing and exporting budgets, we click on budgets and then we see the options. Do we want to export to Excel or import to Excel? Now, there are 2 options of exporting to Excel. So to export our budgets to Excel, you click on this button, export to Excel, and then it launches like another option screen where you get to put in your filters. So the first thing is telling me enter my starting date. So for me, I'll say, okay, I want to export from January 1st, 2020. I change it. Number of periods, it's defaulted to 12 because I have 1 month interval. So I say, okay, export for 12 months and let my period length be an interval of 1 month. Now the system understands M to be months, Y to be year. Those are certain characters that are used globally around the system and the system understands what this means. So when I say 1M, I actually mean the period length should be a period of 1 month. Now, I'm exporting my budget entries to Excel. Now, I also have the option of saying, I want to export with my dimension columns. So say, for example, I wanted to export my budget and give this budget to different departments. Say I wanted to give to the marketing department, the production department, the finance department. I would click on this button and specify which of the dimension. So in my case, in this example I just mentioned, I would be picking my departments. So when I pick my departments, it creates a column in the Excel sheet that will be exported out, which I can now give to each of these department heads to populate their budgets. So that's the option we have when we want to export budgets with dimensions. So next thing, so in this case, I will leave it blank for now, and I specify everything. And it's saying filter, which of my budgets am I exporting to Excel? So I'm saying 2020. So if I had multiple budgets, I'll click on this drop down and pick whichever budget I want to take into Excel. And okay, so these are for my dimensions also. If I want to specify, say, okay, only export where dimension code is this, or my budget dimension is this, I pick this. And then I just click on the OK button. So it does, it exports a sheet to Excel for me. And I now, I probably find it in my downloads, screen, but for this webinar, I won't be showing us that because I don't want to go into too much detail. So anyway, what that does is it creates an Excel sheet and it puts in all this budget GL account numbers and keeps blank space for each month. So when I do that and I have the figures out in Excel, I can now decide to click on import. So say the different people I gave to key in their budget figures have done that. So the next option I'll be clicking is import from Excel. So now what the system assumes here is that we actually have an Excel sheet which was generated when I clicked on my export to Excel. Now, my import from Excel will just be doing the opposite. So what it does also, it also opens a new window with some options, and it's telling me what budget name am I importing to, into what budget. So I say, okay, my 2020 budget, and I enter I say replace or add entries. Now these options are very important. Now it specifies if to add the entries from the Excel into the existing budget entries, or to replace the current entries with the entries from the project I'm bringing it into. So if I say add entries, say for example, I already had budget from the marketing department in this job sales GL accounts. And next week or some week, somebody says, hey, I forgot I was supposed to include this figure. So I'll be clicking on add entries. So what it would do is it would add the new entries to the existing one I had. But if I say replace entries, it would actually replace what's the new entry I'm bringing in. And yeah, to do a replace. And then this description basically just specifies what the imported entries should carry in the description field. And this helps us for identifying when we are trying to analyze our budget entries. So when I do that and say, okay, whatever figures I have in my Excel sheets, it brings it up into this budget figure, into these budget entries. Now, besides exporting and importing budget entries, I also have the ability to just come directly inside my budget and type in whatever figure I want here. So already I can see that for this income services, I have this figure here. So I say, so there are different ways of populating our budgets in Business Central. You can do it directly from the budget window. You can go from the actions button and say export to Excel, and also import. When you export to Excel, you populate it in Excel, and then you click on import to bring it back into Excel. So those are the basic ways of populating budgets. Now, we also have another option of populating our budget, which is the copy budget functionality. So what some people do is, say for example, right now I have my 2019 company budget and my 2020 company budget. So if I wanted to I didn't want to give any user to populate budget. I already know that, hey, for the year 2020, I just need to mark up my 2019 budget by, I don't know, maybe 15% or 10% or something. I can decide to use the copy budget functionality. So here's what I do. We'll go to budget. Now we say copy budget. Now, in this copy budget functionality, I'm assuming I have a brand new budget. So this is still another way of populating our budgets in Business Central. So when I open my budget, click on the copy budget, it opens up this screen. And then it says, from which source are you copying from? Now, this is very important because if I were copying from an existing budget, like say I wanted to copy that 2019 company budget, my option would be GL budget entry. Now, this source of GL entry tells the system I want to copy from an entry that has actually been posted in my system. So it's also, I also still use this as an example of saying, okay, my actuals for 2019 are actually in a table in NAV called the GL entry table. And I know that in 2020, my budget, for example, if the company's policy was our budget for 2020 is a certain percent of actuals for 2019, then I'll be copying my GL entry, which are my actuals. So those are the source types. And then if the option was GL budget entry, I will have to select the budget from which I'm copying from. Remember, this option here says copy from. So everything in this section is telling the system what entries am I copying into this new 2020 company budget. So in this case, I'm going to assume I'm copying my 2019 company budget, and I'm not copying only one account. I'm going to say I'm going to copy all accounts. So I just clear the filter here, right? And then again, it says, from which dates in this 2019 entries do you want to copy? So I tell the system I want to copy the whole year. So closing entries is saying, do I want to include the closing entries in that period? Remember, closing entries are those entries that are generated when we run our closed income statements, back job, and other stuff like that. So I can decide to include it or exclude it. So by default, it is included. So when I come to my copy to tab, I need to specify the budget in which I'm copying into. So obviously I'm copying into my 2020 company budget. I don't want any filter. I want to copy into all accounts. Now the adjustment factor tells the system, how do I want to adjust entries that are coming in? Do I want, it's used if I want to increase or decrease the figures from the budget I'm copying from. So I say, okay, I want to adjust it to 1. Then my rounding method tells me, so these are already set up in the system. So I'll just explain what this rounding method does. So I'm telling the system, round it to the nearest whole number, to the nearest tens, thousands, or hundreds. So this is already set up on the system, and you can always create new and set up what kind of parameter you want your rounding method to be. And if you pick that, the system would follow that rule and go ahead and do what it's supposed to do. So for me, I want to round to the nearest whole number. Now my date change formula specifies how the dates on the entries that are copied will be changed. So example, if we needed to copy 2019 into 2020, but I want it to change, increment by 1 year, I'll put 1 year, which is a normal thing to do. Then date compression period is saying how I want the length of the periods to be when it comes into my new budgets. So I'm saying compress the entries by months. So when I do this and specify everything I need here, and I click OK, so here's what will happen. I say OK, and then it runs and it asks me, do I want to no, it's already 2020 CB. Hold on. So I'm going to do that again. Budgets, copy budgets. So in my copy too, I'm copying to, and I don't have an exact name as what I'm copying into. So I correct it and select exactly what the budget I want to copy into. So the reason we got that option before is of saying, do I want to create the new budget, is because it's seen that a budget name I specified here doesn't actually exist in the system. So I've corrected that now to reflect exactly the budget name I want to copy into. And then I say, okay. So right now it doesn't ask that question anymore. It says, do you want to start copying? I say yes. So it does everything. And hold on. It comes in 2019 jail balance 1 year. So I'm going to open up my dates to see if it copied into 2019 instead, because ideally it should have copied in. So I'm changing my filter now to say show 2019 entries as well. So I don't have anything for 2019 also in my 2020 CB. So I'm changing it again to 20, and I'm going to run my copy budget once more. But so the first thing I want to do is to go into my 2019 budget and see the entries I actually have in 2019. So I'm opening up my 2019 budget, and it's blank here because my dates are showing 2020. So I changed my filter to 2019, and it should actually populate, show me what budgets I have here. So right now I see them here. So means for 2019 company budget, I have these entries. So I confirm that. So I come back into my 2020 budget, and I check to see why it didn't copy. So I'm going to run the copy budget once more. So I'm copying GL budget entries from 2019 CB. Dates of this include closing into 20 GL account hold. Okay, 1 year. Date formula change is 1 year. I say okay. Okay, so right now I have my budgets coming from 2019 into 2020. So if you notice, because I specified the dates change formula to be 1 year, every entry I had for January 2019 has come into January 2020. So that's about copying budgets. You just click on your budget, specify your filters, and then the system would copy. So copying budgets are another option of generating budget entries. So we have just to go over, we have the copy from Excel. We have the copy budget, where you can copy from your actuals or copy from your previous budget entries. So those are the different ways of specifying, of populating budgets in NAV. So yeah, so if I wanted to see exactly what makes up this, I would just click on this button, and then it will show me what was there. So okay, this was for a period of for January 1st, 2020, and I have this entry for this account. So right now I am done populating my budget. Everything is set. Budgets have been entered into the system, and that's all. So next thing I was going to show was how to view our budget entries directly from our chart of accounts. Now, a lot of times in NAV, even in the older versions of NAV, we had certain fields on our chart of accounts in the GL account table, but for some reason, they didn't show by default in NAV. You needed to have a developer add those fields. Now, those fields actually give us a very good visibility into our budget figures directly from our GL accounts. So say I had somebody who was, I don't know, who was always, who liked to always monitor the budget to see what the actuals are against the budget entries. So if I go to one of the, okay, now I'm sure of this product sales, I opened it up. So from a glance, I know that my balance today is this, but my budget is actually this. So those fields actually exist. They are standard fields in NAV, but Microsoft doesn't bring out those fields directly on this pages, even in NAV, older versions of NAV. So in Business Central, we have the options of personalizing this page and dragging in these fields. But even with that option, these fields are not part of the fields that come in by default. You need to have a developer actually just bring it in for you. So if I open up this income product sales directly, I can see that my balance as of today is this -6 on this GL account. And if I scroll down, I've added my fields down here. I can see that my budget is actually this for this day. So I can say, okay, I can decide to say, are we in check or we're not in check? So these are fields that actually exist and can be very good from a glance. Like we have some of our finance people who actually monitor, I don't know, they tend to always look at this GL account list. So from a glance, they can know, okay, this is where we are today. And are we exceeding our budgets? Are we on track? And they can take this kind of views for meetings and explain where the position of the expenditure from a glance. So, and we can also filter. So if I say, if I try to filter by, say, okay, so this we're in 2020 now, I try to filter budget entry. I just put any filter I want. I say 01, 0120 up to March, let's say March 30th, 20. So it also would apply to my, you see, it has changed the figures. Now, the reason I don't have any, the reason I don't have any net change within this period is because I don't have any entries posted within this period. However, I have budgets that I have already created. And if I just click on this, it takes me back into my GL budget entries. Now, these entries came in as a result of the copy budget functionality we did prior to this topic. So I can see all the entries that were created. And if I had a description, like I showed you the description field, you would see clearly what our description is. So directly from a chart of account list, I can get to see any budget related entry I want. You see, I can see the budget credits, I can see everything, I can see my balance at date. I can open it up and get more details. So they are very useful budget fields, and I will advise they actually be added to our GL accounts list and also the card. So that's about that topic. So the next thing I was going to talk about is the reports that are available in BC for budgets. So one of the reports, we don't have as much, we don't have so much so many standard reports for budgets, but we have, I think there's one very useful one, which is the trial balance by budget. So this shows us the summary of what we had versus our actuals versus what we budgeted. So say, for example, I wanted to run this report for all our, so say for all accounts, and I wanted to run it for the period of for the whole year, and I want to see against my 2020 budget. So when I do this, say I just preview it, I don't want to save it, or I just want to see it. So it tries to generate, and then it comes up. Hold on. Okay, so I'll try and zoom this a bit. Okay, so I'm just seeing my, okay, so I go back to the accounts I know I actually had some budget. So it's telling me my net change for this period is blank. There's no activity went on this account for this period. But however, I had a budget, and it's telling me what's the percent of my budget is. So I think this formula is just my actual versus my budgeted multiplied by 100. So I get to see from a glance where I am with my budget entry. So I think this is about the only standard report that comes with BC for budgets, but we can do other things directly from this budget. For example, you can decide to see your GL account balance by period directly from your budget screen. So this also will pull up a matrix that can be changed based on whatever filter you enter. So say, okay, so this period showing me from the beginning of the year. So say I wanted to change it to 2019. If I had any entries, I'll just change my entries here, and I can see whatever figures we had in that period directly from this side. Now the system dates on this instance of BC I'm using is actually 29. So I have a lot of actual ledger entries posted for 2019, not 2020. So I'm just going to run over that process with my 2019 company budget. And I say, budget balance by GL account, balance budget by period. So this is another place where directly from the budget, you can see budget entries that have been posted for any budget related, any account, any GL accounts we budgeted for. Change or say balance at date. So I get to see if I had actually posted anything and what the entries should be. And then I see from a glance what my budget percent is and other details I need to know. So basically, that's all about budgets in Business Central. Budgets are so straightforward, one of the simplest modules to implement in NAV. Just need to know whatever filters we need and what method we want to use to populate our budgets. Do we want to import it from Excel? Do we want to copy existing budgets or copy GL entries? So that's all about budgets in Business Central. I'll pass it over to Angie. Angie, did any questions come in?
Thank you, Amanda. No questions have come in yet, but if anybody does have any that you would like to address to Amanda, please feel free to type those in so we can get them addressed for you. Oh, we do have one. Can I do a Capex budget in BC?
So by Capex, I'm not an accountant, but I think you mean like your expenditure budgets or whatever. So like I said, I'll go back to budgets.
Amanda,
I believe you can. Yes?
If I can interrupt, capital expenses, he means.
Okay, thank you. So like I said, as long as you have those on your GL account, so I'll go back to this company's chart of account just to shed more light on what I think you're asking for. So if those your capital expenditure exists as your GL account you have created here. So say, okay, for example, in this company, I have rent, I have interest, I have bank charges, processing fees and all. So if you had that account here, yes, you can run budgets on that account and several other accounts you need to create. But the base system always works based on what accounts we have created on our general ledger chart of accounts. So that's the answer to that question. As long as you create it here, you can create as many budgets as you like on that account. I hope I answered that question.
Okay. Yes, I believe so. He said thank you. A couple other questions that have come through.
Okay.
When I copied my budget out to Excel and tried to import it, it picked up only 10 of the columns, January to October, even though all 12 show in the import file.
Okay. Can I know what version of NAV that is, please?
Sure. Don, if you could reply back what version that is, what version you are using. NAV 2017.
Okay, 2017. You should not have that issue, and I will be more than happy to run over that. So if I get you right, your method of importing budgets was from Excel. So I'm just going to do that example now. I'm going to use on this interest income, 4,500. So I'm going to export it to Excel. Number of periods, 12. So your number of periods has to be 12. Period length, 1 month. Okay, good. So export projects to Excel. Hold on, number of periods, start dates, month, number of periods, 12. GL account number. In this case, I'm going to just pick one, 4,500. So against this account, I'm going to export it to Excel. Okay, so right now I have this coming out of BC into Excel. 1 minute, I need to drag. It's coming up on my second screen, so I'll just need to bring it in. So first thing I want to do is I want to save it. I just want to be sure. Okay, sorry, I need to enable editing. Okay, I have to go back and pull it back. I just want to make sure that if it works here, and then it should work on your system. Okay, so I have 12 periods already. Like you said, it did come out in 12 periods, but when you put your figures, so I said I put very quickly. So say these were my figures from January to December on this GL, and I'll save us where anyway. Okay. Okay, so I have this now. So remember this account is blank, means I don't have any budget entries from the period of January to December. So I'm going to go back here and import from Excel and pick up that file that's used when import, but replace now, yeah? Import from Excel, okay. And then he asks me to pick up my file, and then I go to my desktop and I pick it here. Yes. So you see, it works. It came in from January. If I scroll, it's actually there up till December. So what I can say right now is the first option is you want to make sure you have 12 here and 1 month. And after you save, try opening up that file to actually confirm you have up to you said it was only 11 entries that came in. Just after saving, try and reopen that file and check that whatever you had for December is actually in that column. If it's there, I don't see any reason why it shouldn't come. But if you check all those things and still have issues, yeah, you can just submit a help desk ticket to Innovia and we'll help you look into that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And a few more. Is there a payroll budget option in BC?
No, there's the GL budgets, there's the sales budgets, and yeah, I think those are the two. I don't, like I said, payroll, of course, for payroll, we have a salary under a salary account set up under a GL under chart of accounts. So that'll probably come on to under salary and wages or salary expenses and all. So I think that's what we have. We don't have a specific budget called payroll budget in BC. We have the sales budgets, we have the general ledger budgets. But you can budget on your payroll expenses or salaries or whatever it is with dimensions, which most people do. They budget on that GL per departments, sales, finance, production. That's it. Any more, Angie? Angie, are there any more questions?
Yes, we do have one more.
Okay.
Could you go over the section on how to add descriptions?
Okay. So I'll go back again to, okay. Now, when I say export to Excel, right? I pick my entries right? I want to. By the time it's coming in, hold on. I'm trying to remember what might now. It's coming in with this basic default description. Now I will explain it from this angle. If I still remember that account we just imported into, yes, it was this interest income. If I pull it up and see my entries, see, because I didn't change my default description, it came in with imported from Excel with today's dates. However, if I wanted to change, if I didn't want that default description when I was bringing in these entries, I would come and do this. I'll say import from Excel. And when the system comes up with that its default description, I will overwrite it and say something imported by. So you have, this is where you would do that. Change the description that comes up before you click on this OK button. So that's the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. If anybody has any further questions that you would like to ask Amanda, please feel free to go ahead and get them into the questions box and we'll get them addressed. All right, well, I believe that those are all the questions that we have for you today. If anybody has any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to Amanda or your account manager here at Inovia Consulting, and we can go ahead and get those addressed for you. And I just want to thank Amanda for presenting today.
Thank you so much, Angie. And thank you for everyone who attended. Thanks for the questions and for following the webinar.
And another thing I wanted to point out to you guys is that Inovia has started a new training workshop. You can visit our Inovia website page, that's inovia.com/workshops, to see all the different types of training workshops that we have available in the coming months and to go ahead and get registered for those. And we do have more webinars coming up. This afternoon, we have VersaPay Charge Logic presenting on the death of the check and future of B2B payments. And tomorrow, we have Joe Doyle from ProCat presenting on Stop Wasting Your Money, the benefits of operational perfection. So check out our website for more of our upcoming events, and that's inovia.com/events. Oh, have you heard our podcast yet? It's called the Inovia Conversation. We would like to encourage you to listen to our selection that our hosts, Steve Waltz and Jeff Progolski, have provided to us. And you can find out about all the different podcast platforms to listen to on our podcast page, and that's inovia.com/podcast. So check out the selection and subscribe so you'll be notified when those new episodes air. All right, everyone, thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on another Inovia webinar. Have a great week, everyone.